That dead guy. That dead guy. That dead guy. Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It is 27 degrees, feeling like 30 today, which is nice summer weather. Last week it was in the 40s and it was a bit uncomfortable at times, but I did get a little bit of sun, as you can see, because I spent the weekend on Prince Edward Island. That's the province of Prince Edward Island. I went over primarily to see a couple car shows, one in Summerside and one in Brudenell. And while I was there, I got to spend some time with Kyler and Michael and Grace, and that was really fun. We got to do a couple different things. We went to a car show together. We also went for walks. We went and had something to eat that Kyler made, which was really good. And we went to Michael's sister's house to see their beautiful garden. So I want to show you that at the end of this video. So if you're interested, stick around till the end and I'll show you a few flowers from that garden. Spectacular. The other thing I got to do while I was in Prince Edward Island was to go to an antique shop that Kyler suggested. Now, the antique shop is right there on the border. When you come across the Confederation Bridge and arrive in Prince Edward Island, there's actually two antique shops owned by the same person. And so I went into one of them and it has so many postcards. I have never seen a place with so many postcards and antique postcards. They're not the current ones you see out. The wonderful thing about antique postcards is it covers a lot of different cities and towns. When snail mail was big at its height and people were writing letters all the time, or when you went on a vacation as a tourist, you would stop in the shop and you would buy the local postcards depicting the small towns that you were in or the events that you were going to. They all had postcards back then. Now, not so much. I can see in a city the size of Moncton that I live in now, it is very hard to find Moncton related postcards. It's a shame, really. I wish there was more of them out there. Yes, I could take pictures. I could turn them into postcards, and I've done a little bit of that. I haven't done it specifically about Moncton, though. Maybe I need to do that, because when you're a postcrosser, as I am, being a part of postcrossing.com, which is a free website, it's a great hobby. You can send postcards around the world and receive them from around the world in return. One of the things people ask on a lot of their profiles is for postcards from where you're from. So I generally send postcards from New Brunswick or from Atlantic Canada or Canada as a whole, not Moncton specific, because I don't have a lot of Moncton specific. Now, why am I rambling on about that? Because this particular antique shop had antique postcards. It had New Brunswick antique postcards. It had Moncton antique postcards. And so when I was there, I didn't want to spend and spend and spend, because I don't have the finances to do that. But at $1 a postcard, I did want to pick up a few. And I definitely will be back again, because they have so many. And they have not just provincial postcards, but they also have event postcards and things that are there too. I've never seen so many, like I said before. So make sure you like, you subscribe, you leave positive comments, you share with other people, you put the notification bell on, and you hype if you can. First thing we're going to do, we're going to look at some postcards, and I may even tell you a few stories as we go along through. The first one I want to show you, as I always talk about Fundy National Park, and I tend to have a few postcards of Fundy National Park. It is one of my favorite places to go hiking and go for walks, and it's near the town of Alma at one entrance, and they have the world's best sticky buns. So yeah, when I'm down there, I tend to enjoy a couple sticky buns. I haven't gone this season yet, and at some point I will be back though. And this is a vintage postcard from Fundy National Park. This is Wolf Point Bridge over here. This doesn't exist anymore the way it is now. People aren't walking around dressed like this either, which I really appreciate in these vintage postcards, is seeing how the attire that we wear changes. The vehicles that we have change, and so that's a nice thing too. How about a bull moose feeding on the lake's edge? This is from Sussex, New Brunswick. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you probably know Sussex for the Hot Air Balloon Festival or the flea market. These are a couple of things that I've gone to Sussex for and to showcase. It says, in Canada, moose are still common over most of their original range. How these great deer can go on galloping up a steep mountainside at high elevations over the top and down the other side without a single pause is nothing less than a miracle. Interesting they call them great deer. I never heard of a moose being called a great deer before, but that's what it says on the back of the card. And that's some of the interesting thing about vintage postcards too, is the terminology sometimes that is used, that sometimes we wouldn't use in today's, so take that into effect. How about this one? This is the Keeler House in Dorchester, New Brunswick, which was built in 1813. This still exists today, so it's kind of nice to have that postcard. Or this one here. This is Christ the King Church, which was on Dominion Street here in Moncton. It's still on Dominion Street here in Moncton. So the church postcards you can find. Or St. Joseph's University near Moncton. Well, this is actually in Memramcook. Yeah, it is near Moncton, but Memramcook. This one here, the Kiwanis Swimming Pool in Kiwanis Park. Now, Kiwanis Park now is a baseball field where the local baseball team plays. And then there's some curling and I think maybe some pickleball and aerobics and a bunch of different things are housed in that complex. So this pool no longer exists. But it's interesting. You can see the diving positions. You can see the bathing caps and the swimsuits that people were wearing at the time. But this used to be a great town watering hole. Speaking of water, the tidal bore in Moncton. This is a giant wave that travels over 40 miles up the Petitcodiac River from the Bay of Fundy, caused by the daily tides. This still happens. The river may look a little different depending on where you are in it. We had built a causeway back in the 60s. Just under a decade ago, that was torn out and a bridge was put in. So the river is reclaiming itself. The causeway created a man-made lake on one side as a result of it. And so that is out and the river is starting to reclaim itself. And the fish species are starting to come back again too. So that's a shot of what the tidal bore once was. Another once was thing is this, the Southeastern New Brunswick Tourist Bureau, located on Lutz Mountain. This no longer exists anymore, but I do remember this. And there was a lookout that you could climb up to the top of and see down into the city of Moncton, which was a famous place to go. It was also a famous kissing area for people to go. Across the street was a Irving gas station, which my brother-in-law worked at one point in time. Well, this is just a derelict building now. Most of it is gone. The tower that you could walk up is still there, but it's a bit condemned. I wouldn't risk climbing those stairs to go up it. But it has some memories, and that's why I got that card. Another thing that has memories is Centennial Park. I've taken you there before in the past. I've taken you in the fall. I've taken you in the summer. We go there to see the car show, the Atlantic Nationals. That takes place in Centennial Park. And this is what you see when you drive in one of the entrances. The main entrance on the lower area has this massive train out front. This is the CNR steam locomotive that's on display at the park. It's still there. What's different about it today, though, back then, you can see there's a little bit of a chain link fence around it. When I was a child, there was no chain link fence. We, as children, climbed all over this thing. And maybe the teenagers at the time put trash in it and broke windows and damaged it, which was bad. So now, at this point, they put a chain link fence, but now they've got a wooden structure that's all over it. It's encompassed. You can still see it, but it is covered from the elements, and you can no longer climb all over it. So there's that. How about Magnetic Hill? I've taken you there before, too. You can go and search all these videos out and go enjoy them again. But here's Magnetic Hill. Defying the law of gravity. Famous Magnetic Hill is located just 3 miles from Moncton, which it's now in Moncton, but at this point in time, it would have seemed out far away. It's what you seem like. It's not now. It's all part of the city, and there's a zoo there, and there's a whole bunch of other things, hotels and restaurants, and bumper cars and bumper boats, and lots of things here to do now in Magnetic Hill. At the time, there was pretty much Magnetic Hill and a petting zoo there, and you can see by the VW Bug that's down there, this card was taken a long time ago, but still a premier attraction for Moncton. One of those phenomena that you got to do at least once. I've done it many times. I took my father actually there to do it the other day. He enjoyed it. He doesn't remember doing it before, which was great because you got to experience it all over again for the first time. So that was a lot of fun. Speaking of Moncton, back then, Here's a picture of Moncton, New Brunswick, a little while ago now. It says on the back, Moncton is known throughout the land as the hub of the Maritimes because of its geographic location in the center of Atlantic provinces. It is a distribution center for the East. So we're still a bit of that. You can see the rail lines used to be super important for Moncton. They're not as much now. We don't have as many trains coming in through that we've changed. This here is Highfield Square. It was a mall in downtown. That is gone. The Avenir Center, where our Moncton Wildcats Quebec Major Junior Hockey League plays. It's a great concert venue. Lots of things go on there. So this is all changed. The downtown has grown up and out and higher up. And probably a few less trees too as a result of that. The apartment buildings and things. So it's nice to see a snapshot of the city. Another snapshot, it's not too far from where I live, is this New Brunswick Institute of Technology on Mountain Road. It's now called NBCC, the New Brunswick Community College. So it's changed its name. It looks slightly different than this. My son, when he saw this, he saw, where are these people and sitting on the benches? Might not exist. You can see the older cars in the background too. So the more some things stay the same, the more some things change too. So I got a couple of those cards. Magnetic Hill, once again, look, it's already changed from the postcard I showed you before. You can see the cars that are on it now. It's still pretty green where it is. But if that camera panned out a little bit, you would see a lot of different things. Or another part of Moncton, the corner of churches. This is Queen and Church Street in downtown Moncton. That's the Central United Church, First Baptist Church, and St. George's Anglican. It still exists that way. I haven't seen cars like this parked out in front of it since probably last year when we had the Atlantic Nationals downtown. These beautiful old cars are on display in the middle of July. So not this weekend, but next weekend, the Atlantic Nationals will hit Moncton once again for a 5-day car show. So I'll be taking lots of videos to show you about it. One of our higher education centers, I showed you the New Brunswick Technology Institute and is now NBCC. Well, this is Université de Moncton. This is the French university in Moncton. It's still here, and it's much greater than you see right now. I'm just looking at this. One of the things you don't see in this picture is the highway that goes right through here now. There was a bypass that was built in Moncton, I want to say 40 years ago now. So that is in this picture now. And the university buildings, there are more of them because it's a bigger university. And I say one of the universities because we also have Crandall University in Moncton. Another thing to show you from Moncton that doesn't really exist or has changed is the provincial game farm at Magnetic Hill. So we actually have a zoo there now. There is no game farm anymore, but you can see the Union Jack is flying in this picture with these cars from the 1950s. So this was Canada before we had our maple leaf flag, which came in 1965. So this card was put out before 1965, and based on the cars that are in it, it was showing in about in the 50s. So another cool thing. We can go from cars to airplanes. Well, back in Centennial Park, once again, this is the historic Royal Canadian Air Force CF-100 that is at the entrance of the park. So you can see the train in the background. Yes, you can. But when this was taken, there's a few things that are missing from the entrance that are there now. So the plane is there and the train is there. You're missing the tank, and there's an anchor too to represent different forces, to have the Army and the Navy represented as well. So those are all at the park. And just beyond that, there's lawn bowling, tennis courts. Yeah, it's a bunch of different sporting things just beyond that as you go in the entrance. Another shot of Magnetic Hill. This is Magnetic Hill by the motel that was up there. It's still there. It looks a little different in there, but it's still there. But that's Magnetic Hill. How about Greetings from Moncton? The Tidal Boar and Magnetic Hill. So two of the things that Moncton is famous for right there on the card. I got it once again too for the vintage cars that were in there. This is another one from Magnetic Hill by the gift shop. All right, let's leave Moncton for a minute. Let's go to the longest covered bridge in the world. This is in Heartland, New Brunswick. You can still get postcards for this covered bridge, and you don't have to go to Heartland to get them. Anytime you find New Brunswick postcards, usually this covered bridge is on it because it is one of New Brunswick's biggest attractions, along with probably the flower pots in Hopewell Rocks. These are things that people come from a long distance to come explore and see for themselves. And if you're coming from a long way away and want to stay in someplace beautiful, the Algonquin in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. This still exists, and this is on some postcards that I've sent in the past too. I have been to St. Andrews, and I've shown that on videos. We've gone to see a bunch of different things down there, and the Algonquin Hotel has been featured in it. One of the things I haven't done, though, is take the ferry from St. John, New Brunswick to Digby, Nova Scotia. I really would like to do that. I'm hoping this summer I get the chance to do it. I'm not sure if I will, but I'm hoping to. But this is the Princess of Acadia in St. John. And it says, as much fun as an ocean voyage, this new vehicle and passenger carrying vehicle plies the waters of the Bay of Fundy, highest tides in the world, daily between St. John, her home port, and Digby, Nova Scotia. With a length of 480 feet and a width of 66 feet, it is the largest ferry vessel of this type ever built in Canada and contains all the facilities necessary for a complete enjoyment and relaxation cruise. Now, the ferry you take now between the two, is it the same? I don't know. I'm guessing it's not the same ship, but might be the same experience. This is another postcard of downtown Moncton. Oh, yes. We've gone to St. Andrews. Well, just down the street from that is the town of St. Stephen, the gateway to the Maritimes. So this is a border town with Calais, Maine of the U.S. And St. Stephen was founded on the St. Croix River in 1783 by Empire Loyalists fleeing their homes in the eastern states. Nevertheless, its relation with its sister city across the river, Calais, Maine, have always been a study of international harmony. While the rest of Canada and the U.S. went to war in 1812, they kept the peace to the extent that St. Stephen even supplied the gunpowder for the 4th of July celebrations in Calais. So these two towns have been linked together for a very long time. And even when there has been tension between our two countries, they found a way to try to work together harmoniously. I hope it's still doing that somewhat the way it is today. We shall see. But St. Stephen's known for a lot of things. One of the things St. Stephen's known for is Ganong's chocolate, and they are the inventor of the chocolate bar, as well as trying to think of the name of the candy. It's escaped me, and I won't spend a lot of time thinking of it, but they did have another notable event. Oh, chicken bones. Chicken bones. They're a pink candy, chocolate inside. Not something I really enjoy, but a lot of people do, and they came from Ganong's. You can thank them for it if you enjoy eating them. How about a waterfall of New Brunswick? New Brunswick has tons of beautiful natural resources and lots of waterfalls. This is in St. George, New Brunswick. And I'm pretty sure I've shown that waterfall on this channel before as well. All right, I said that I was in Prince Edward Island. Let's go to Prince Edward Island quickly in some cards before I come back once again. Lobster. Now, being a New Brunswicker, we think of lobster, we think of Shediac, New Brunswick. It's the lobster capital of the world. They have the world's largest lobster outside on display. They have a lobster museum. There's a lot of things lobster just in Shediac. 20 minutes from Moncton here, on your way to Prince Edward Island. But when I think of Prince Edward Island and eating lobster, that's where I think of going. Prince Edward Island had all sorts of these wonderful lobster suppers. This is New London Lions lobster supper, Prince Edward Island. And they used to be in, basements of churches and things. And you would go and you would have lobster and potato salad and all the fixings. And maybe it was all you can eat lobster too. They had these on a regular basis. When lobster was so dirt cheap in the Maritimes that some people didn't want to be associated with eating lobster. My mother was one of those people. Growing up in Nova Scotia, if she brought a lobster sandwich to school, she was considered poor. She'd rather throw the sandwich out and go hungry than to have the kids make fun of her for eating lobster. Now, if you have a lobster roll, you're considered wealthy or you're considered well-to-do if you're eating lobster, because it's become such a premium. And so rather than being the garbage of the ocean that it once probably was, it's now sold all around the world from this location. So between Maine lobster and New Brunswick lobsters, or New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia Maritime lobsters, we are all producing a lot for around the world. So I think of lobsters. And a lot of people think of lobsters looking like this. That's after they've been cooked. That's mostly what they look like when you pull them from the ocean. And sometimes they're blue, and depending on where they are. Or if you're in the Caribbean and you pull lobsters, they don't have these massive claws at the front. They look a little different. And then this is Prince Edward Island's coat of arms. And you might eat lobster in a restaurant. I would say a fancy restaurant, but this is a dated restaurant. But this is a dated car as well. This is the Ocean View restaurant. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it's in Malpeque Bay. And then, how about this one? This is saying home of the lobster dinners. Here we are. This is New Glasgow, Prince Edward Island. And they said they're the home of the very popular lobster suppers. I'm sure I've eaten lobster suppers in New Glasgow before. All right. There's my few Prince Edward Island ones that I got. Now let's go back to some more from New Brunswick. And how about St. John, New Brunswick, the Reversing Falls. So welcome to the world's famous Reversing Falls. The giant loyalist greets all the visitors in St. John, New Brunswick. We talked about St. Stephen being a city that was founded by Empire loyalists. So loyalists are people that were loyal to Great Britain when the American Revolution broke off and they didn't want to be associated with this newfound country of the U.S. They came to Canada and they stayed loyal to the crown. And so New Brunswick became a province as a result of these Empire loyalists. We were associated with Nova Scotia before and then became our own province. So while in St. John, there's another shot of the Reversing Falls a little bit further out. One of the things they've added to the Reversing Falls now is there's a platform you can walk out and be out above the water. So that's kind of a neat way to see it. I haven't done it yet since they built it. Maybe I will one day. How about the Picture Province? That's what they called New Brunswick at the time, the Picture Province. And at the time this card was created, the population was 701,000 for the whole province. The seaside province with 2,253 kilometers of coastline, communities that are French as France and British as tea. Loyalists season the Acadian joie de vivre. So, yes, we do have a mixture of the French, the Acadian people, and those of British descent too, living within this province. That's why we are the only official bilingual province in the whole country. So when you think of Canada and you think of French, really that's Quebec. Quebec is the French province. That's unilingual French. You can find English there, but French is first. Here in New Brunswick, French and English coexist. And yeah, we're harmony, right? There's lots of things going on here. And how about a shot of downtown Moncton once again? This is Highfield Square. Eaton's. Well, Eaton's doesn't exist, and either does Highfield Square. This is where the Avenir Center is now. This is the old post office. I did a video about that not that long ago. It hasn't really changed too much on the outside. The inside certainly has. It is all government offices, but there is no post office in there anymore. Just some remnants. And then I got this one, a bridge over the Cocan River. One of the things that Cocan River really was famous for was jet boats. They used to race jet boats at one point in time there. They don't do that anymore. I don't know why. Maybe it's not as popular. One thing they do in New Brunswick, though, is fishing along the river. This is Sussex, New Brunswick, but you can find fishermen fishing the lakes, the streams, the rivers, all over New Brunswick. Different types of fish. You can be fly fishing, you can be salmon fishing, you can be large, well, yeah, there's a lot of different fish you can get here. So if you're into that sort of things, this is a good place to come. One of the other things that I've shown you not that long ago and many times over is Fort Beausejour, which is near Sackville, New Brunswick, pretty close to the border with Nova Scotia, because Fort Beausejour used to be a French fort, of course, back in the days when the French were here and the English were here and they were fighting each other. There was an English fort on the Nova Scotia side and there was a French fort on the New Brunswick side. And Fort Beauséjour still there in relics, I guess, pretty much. There's just bases of buildings that were once there. This building is there. That is the museum. You can walk through and get all the history side of it, or you can walk along the grounds and go through the buildings. You can see what's left of the buildings that way, and there's plaques that tell you what once was there, whether it was the armory or the barracks or what have you, the well, munitions area. So all those sort of things are there. It's a beautiful place to walk around. Can get very windy though, so make sure you do have a coat if you happen to be there sometimes. The last postcard I have, I'm not really sure what city it is, whether it's Moncton, whether it's Fredericton or St. John, but it is a bicentennial postcard of a city street around 1900, and you can see there's tram lines running through the middle. So currently, there are no trams in any of our major cities in New Brunswick, so that is a thing of the past. You can also see, because it's 1900, we've got horse and buggies and the outfits, but I don't know from the buildings here that are shown what city that is. So you guys might know as historians. Someone locally might be watching this and say, well, yeah, I know that. That's this area of this city, this town. And if you know, let me know, because I'm not quite sure which one it is. And even the sign on there, I can't read that sign. It looks like job, something is backwards on the, or Joe, you know, hard to tell. But yeah, so all those postcards found in this little antique shop at an affordable rate, and tens of thousands more available. So if I'm ever looking for more postcards, I know exactly where to go. And I'm going to be back in Prince Edward Island again. I know I want to do some more videos with Kyler. He has an amazing stamp collection with tons of great knowledge. And so some things that I want to talk about through his collection. Also, he has a extensive postcard collection with some real personal connections to those postcards. So I really would like to do that and share those experiences with you as well. He walked me through some of it this weekend, and I know it would make a fascinating videos for all of you that are historians or postcard collectors or ephemera collectors, lots of things, even more collectors, lots of interesting things there. Well, that's it for this portion. If you want to see some flowers of that beautiful garden that I went to, it'll be on right after Polo says hello. That's it for now. Have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?